So we're hearing from Dana. Dana asks, I'm noticing recently as the team is growing, that decisions I need to make are getting more complex. More people are involved, and there's often a lot of data to consider. How should I think about making these more high-stake decisions?
Okay, so this is I'm sure there's a lot of people are feeling this at the moment, these sort of high-stakes decisions. So when decisions are more complex, you need to consider and agree on three things. One, what data do you need? Two, who your stakeholders are. And three, what process to use. Data, stakeholders, process. This is what we teach our clients. And as a heads up, these three factors can be quite intertwined as well. So let's do a little bit of a deep dive on each of those. So let's start with data. So first, and this is just like a good rubric, by the way, this isn't everything on data, but this is just a good guiding posts for you. Think first is like, well, how much is the right amount? So too little, and it's a bit of a stab in the dark, and too much, you've wasted a lot of time and capital. So to land on the right amount of data to collect, you've got to consider what we call decision reversibility. How easy is it to come back through that door, as well as how and to whom you'll need to defend it, right? The next is to remember that data can also be qualitative as well as quantitative. So collecting input or ideas from people anecdotally can be just as useful as having hard numbers and charts. And we see this especially with the kind of work that we do, though I know it may not transcend to everyone's work in that particular case, it is really useful to have those qualitative points as well. And then finally, remember that you can find yourself drowned in data. And I know it's a really important part of everybody's role, regardless really of what you're doing. But if you don't listen to others' intuition and sometimes your own intuition, you can find that you can't decide quite where to cut that data off. And intuition is often based on subconscious patterns that we have. It is also based on all the history and experience that you have working. And so this intuition isn't just some random thing that you've decided upon or that's just popped up. It's not just like a gut feeling. Intuition is pattern matching. And so don't ignore it.
Yeah. I like to think of it as part of the data set, right? It's like, it's part of the data. It's like, you want to be data driven. Yeah. And part of your data set is intuition.
Exactly. Especially if you have a lot of experience. This is not your first rodeo. You've seen it before. People often ignore it, just being like, no, but it has to be really ingrained in data. True, but also you'll have a spidey sense, and that's not based on nothing. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so after data, you've also got to consider your stakeholders. So this is point 2. And of course, these are the folks who will be impacted by the outcome of your decision, and key in the communication piece as well. So Dana, you mentioned that more people seem to be involved now. Well, who are the ones whose work is directly affected and who actually needs to be factored in or brought into that decision making? And it seems like a super simple thing, but just making sure that you're considering that up front and you're making notes to that effect is really helpful because their intuition and their experience is also super valuable in these kind of situations. Okay, which brings us to our last factor, and this is process, and this is how the decision will be made. And there's no right or wrong process here, but it's just more or less like fitting the right one in, depending on the data needs, the stakeholders, and the scope and the scale of the decision that you're making as well. And here are some examples of common decision-making processes, which can be helpful. And by the way, people tend to try and use a combination of these, and that doesn't really work. You've got to kind of pick the right one for the decision you're making.